All right, thank you so much for joining us on our 119th edition of Lunch Out Loud Ottawa. My name is Nick Pachuski.
And I'm Andrew Miller.
And of course, we're the podcast, Ottawa's podcast that talks to the people, places, events, and music that make this city the incredible city that it is. And of course, our city wouldn't be incredible if it weren't for our amazing restaurants. And we have a very special guest today, Mr. Stephen Beckta. Everybody knows who he is.
Yeah.
So we're going to get to know him a little bit more in just a moment. But first, why don't we check this out?
Hi, I'm Alexandra. I'm a local singer-songwriter, and I'm super excited to say that my debut album is coming out tomorrow. It's a full-length alternative pop album called Lucid Dreaming, and the CD release party is happening tomorrow night at Zayfod Beeblebrox. You can find all the event information and links to stream and buy my music through my page at facebook.com/Alexandra Music and Stuff. Thanks to Nick for having me on today's episode of Lunch Out Loud Ottawa. I hope you enjoy the tracks he will be playing, and to see you tomorrow night for an awesome show.
I was stumbling through a garden of snakes, disenchanted by the concept of fate.
All right, thank you so much, Alexandra. So, of course, she is on tomorrow at 10 p.m. at Zayfod, so check her out. It's her album launch for Lucid Dreaming. And
really
like
good.
When we're listening to that, like you could say she's a New York performing artist.
Nobody would know.
Nobody would know. Like if she headlined a music festival, they'd think her like, what's that woman that she sounds like? I forget. But anyways, she sounds incredible.
For sure.
So check that out, Lucid Dreamin' and Alexandra Music on Facebook.
Right on.
So thank you so much for having us. We're at the new Beckta 2.0 on Elgin Street, the former Friday's Steakhouse, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. So it's an incredible, if you've never been in here to eat, get out here to eat, but even take in the amazing architecture, plus the incredible artwork from a lot from locally sourced artists, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. We've got three local artists that are that light up the spaces, and Alison Fowler, Andrew King, and in the wine bar, the photos of Jordan Craig.
Oh, well, that's cool. Now, and are the pieces available for sale when people come?
They are all available for sale. I don't believe in charging any commission to the artists. We want to have great art on our walls, and we want to support local artists, and we want them to be able to sell great art and expose it to people of the city. So it's been an amazing relationship. We've sold probably a couple dozen pieces now between the three artists since we opened 6 months ago, and it's been a wonderful relationship, and our guests just love it, and it fits in so well with the space, and so we're just thrilled to have them.
Well, it's one of the first things I noticed whenever I ate here a couple of months ago was that I mean, you can tell Andrew King's work. You know what I mean? He has definitely a significant style, slightly different from the rest, and I could tell right away that it was. And I was like, oh, that was really cool. So,
and same with Alison. But the best thing I like about it is you get a lot of international guests at this restaurant because it's one of the premier restaurants in the city, no doubt. So a lot of, you probably get a lot of government officials and a lot of, the businesses. We're right above Shopify, so they bring in people from across. We've had Harley on our show, of course. But when you get the foreign guests that get to witness this art from Ottawa, take it home, have a talking piece, and you never know who's going to see it and go, you know what, I want to order like a dozen of those from Ottawa, ship it off. And so like that, I've always wanted to do that in this city, is on Spark Street instead of the billboards. You have people urban artists, they paint their things and have their Instagram accounts. So the tourists will, take it to their they're different countries and sell Ottawa art, but this is just awesome what you do here.
Oh, thank you.
So like what we do with all of our guests, we like to ask where they like to eat and where they like to hang out in Ottawa. So I guess a lot of people would be interested as to maybe some of your other favorite restaurateurs or restaurants in the city that you like to go to.
Sure. I mean, I don't get a chance to eat out very often because, I work 5 nights a week. So I eat 10 meals a week in the restaurants as part of family meal. We all of our staff get together twice a day to eat the meal together, very simply prepared from our chefs. And we talk about the day and what's going on and who's coming in and what the specials are and, what the new wines are and, different service points.
What's the favorite family meal?
Fried chicken always goes off with everyone. Yeah. But there's always, we realized early on that we couldn't do, big rich foods every single day. So as part of every single meal, there's always fresh salad. There's always, heavy vegetable component, and the staff love it, and it keeps them healthy, and it keeps us, eating and enjoying our time together.
And they can know the cooks and the chefs, so they can better educate the clients.
Absolutely.
Well, that's it. Everybody that comes in, everybody knows the plates pretty well, right? So
absolutely.
They can give a couple of personal recommendations and whatnot. So
exactly, and I love to cook as well, and I don't get a chance to cook very often, so I love to cook at least once a week. So that leaves me at most 1 day a week to go out somewhere.
Oh, that's good.
A few places that have had incredible meals lately. North and Navy, the guys Chris and Adam who took over our old space at Beckta on Nepean Street have done such an incredible job bringing really authentic Northern Italian rustic food to Nepean Street in downtown Ottawa. Just incredible. I love the food and the space, and to see what they've done with it since it was the old Beckta.
So they've transformed it a little bit inside.
They really have,
yeah.
And they really brought in a very personal, authentic touch that is. It's authentic.
Northern Italy, right?
Yeah, but I mean, the space is very authentic to them and who they are. Chris has been collecting sort of one-off antique plates since he was a teenager, and then with his wife, and so they basically had all their plates and cutlery just randomly picked up over the years at antique stores or garage sales or whatever, and so they just opened with all this stuff.
Oh, neat!
It was great,
and that's their place settings.
And that's their place settings.
Oh, I thought maybe you meant they had them on the wall and whatnot, but that's cool.
No, it is, and. I've had some great meals at Fauna lately on Bank and Gladstone. Wellington Gastropub is always a big favorite. My wife's favorite spot to go is Allium for her birthdays because
nice.
she likes to be very incognito, and they just put us in the back corner and forget about us, and it's perfect.
That's nice.
And I went to Soka the other day, had some delicious food there. There's just so many great places in Ottawa. There's dozens. Where it used to be, there was one or two or three that you could call your favorites, but now it's like. There's so many places I want to get back to that I've loved meals, but I just don't have the time. Yeah. And so, it's an amazing food city right now.
Are you originally from Ottawa?
I'm originally from Ottawa. I grew up here.
Oh, right.
I kept going away and coming back. Amsterdam, New York City, Banff, but Ottawa is always the place I come back to.
And what got you started into the food industry?
I started bussing tables when I was 13 because I wanted a job. And things weren't great at home. My parents had split up, and I never really felt like I had a real family at home. And the restaurant staff at the restaurant I worked at then called Malibu Jack's, where Empire Grill is now.
Nice.
They just sort of made me part of their family, and I just loved it. And so I just said, I'm going to open my own restaurant, and I'm going to have a restaurant family of my own one day.
What age did you say that?
That was 13.
13 years.
Oh, nice.
Right away.
Did you go through busboy, server, bartender? Did you pretty much do it all?
Yeah, until I was 18, I couldn't serve. But bussing, cooking, dishwashing, whatever, hosting, bar back, whatever. And then when I was 18, I was able to start serving, and then went from there, supervising, managing.
All at
Soka? No. These are all at different places.
What are some of the other places?
Pete and Marty's, Dunn's, Yesterday's. There was just tons
floating
of
around the center,
but really nothing special. It was all roadhouses and diners and things like this. And then,
you got to know people though, and you get to know lots of different types of people whenever you're working at places like that, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's great.
Oh, no, absolutely, for sure. And then where the fine dining, to an extent, started was the Ritz restaurants. So where Beckta used to be, I took it over from my old boss. And
it was the original Ritz, right?
that was the third of
third
the
one,
three
sorry.
Ritzes. Yeah, there were a group of 5 at one point, and that was number 3. And but it was considered sort of the classiest. It was called Uptown. It was in this, old Victorian home, and it was great. And that's where I learned about wine. That's where I learned about proper service. And
What age was that when
that
you
was
started?
21.
Was it a shock when you had to, go to different uniforms, go to a whole different clientele, or did you pick it up?
No,
right away?
that wasn't much of a shock. Moving to New York City and working really fine dining was a big shock.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I spent 4 years in New York City, 2 each working with Daniel Boulou and Danny Meyer, and they're considered 2 of the top restaurateurs in the world. And that was a big shock. I mean, walking in to my first day at the new restaurant, that I had never dined in a restaurant that nice, let alone served in one. And suddenly I'm, supposed to know the difference between this $5,000 bottle of wine and that $5,000 bottle of wine, because I'm the sommelier, I'm the wine guy. And so I was definitely in over my head there. But you just scramble to catch up and learn, and it worked out really well.
Just hustle.
Oh, that's good. That's good that you do all the steps, though. I know I've worked in the restaurant business. I used to do it for over a decade anyway. And I found new people coming in. I always thought that people should do every position in the restaurant. Mm-hmm. Even if they're going to be a bartender right away, they should be a dishwasher. They should do a day online. Then you get to know everybody you're working with and what they have to deal with.
Yeah.
So then there's no yelling at the dishwasher, hurry up with those dishes, or hurry up with my food, And so it's good that you got through every step of it.
Yeah.
So as far as formal training for whatnot, I guess you got most of it in New York, or?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm a high school dropout, but I did do the sommelier program at Algonquin.
Okay.
So that was a part-time program for 2 years at the time.
What led you to do that? Was it one of your managers that said, I think you should really do this? Or did you
No.
just go, I really need to know more, I want to be better for my guests?
I ran into this guy who said, hey,
There you go.
I'm taking this wine program, and it was a friend of a friend, and I said, hey, do you mind if I join you? That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
You know,
cool.
and that was it. But I was hooked on day one, and I just said, this is going to be a big part of my life, because I love it. It's tons of fun. No, I didn't really have a lot of ambitions at that point. It was just like, this sounds cool. So
What led you to New York? Was
a woman.
okay.
It's always a woman.
It's always the
I met a woman at a wedding in Virginia, and she lived in New York, and I was actually quitting my job in Ottawa in order to look to open a restaurant with a friend of mine who owned an inn here. And I said, okay, I'm going to go see this woman for a couple of weeks first, and then go spend a season in the vineyards in Niagara, and then I'll come back, and then we'll set this up. But I ended up getting there and getting this great job offer, and so I ended up staying.
That's awesome.
The woman didn't work out, but the job did.
It led you there. That's all that
Exactly.
matters, right? And then it led you back here. So that's great.
Another woman led me back here. I met my wife at another wedding in Ottawa, and when I was living in New York, and then had to move back here to be with her. So and open up and the
So
original.
ladies and
back there.
gentlemen, go to weddings this
so
summer.
we can
Go to weddings.
I guess so. Weddings are the
go
place.
to your weddings. So
It'll bring you
that's
to
gonna
great
be good.
places. Yes.
Well, I'd like to thank your wife for at least getting you back here then, and opening up all these fabulous restaurants.
Yeah,
thank you.
and what led you to Amsterdam as well? Netherlands. I'm from the Netherlands, so I always love to hear.
Well, I mean, to an extent, you can say a woman. It was I had a really bad breakup, and I was living with this woman in Ottawa, and a really bad breakup, and I just needed to get out of town, and so I just
Real
bought,
far.
But I just bought a one-way ticket
that's
to
cool.
Paris, and I was going to travel around. A lot of people do through Europe, and I was there for maybe 4 months, and then I ran out of money, and I was in Amsterdam, and so I started working at this American comedy dinner theater, and nobody really had any idea what to do for the food and beverage side there, and it was this 300-seat packed theater, but yeah,
Wow.
they didn't know what to do when it came to the restaurant side. So at the end of the season, they asked me back the following year to run the food and beverage stuff, and it was great.
How old were
awesome.
you at that time?
I was 21.
21, and you
Wow.
were running the 300.
Yeah.
See, how did they?
That's
How did
amazing.
they believe in you? Because you wouldn't have had many. Did they use references? from
No, it wasn't
Canada?
that. No,
Did they just
I
listen to you?
No,
and go,
I,
"Oh, this-"
I hustled. It was because I was with them for 3 months, and so I was selling tickets to the show. So I would stand outside of the Heineken Brewery or the Anne Frank House, and I would sell tickets to tourists to say, "You got to come to
that's
see the
awesome.
show tonight." And I was able to get a ton of people to come in and see the show. So they obviously saw that I could do that. Then by the end of the year, I branched off into group sales. I would cold call corporations and try to get their events held there and this kind of thing, and I was very successful in that. So they just said, yeah, so if you did that, then you can do this, and there you have
Their
it.
return on investment on you was this is something they never thought was possible.
It was fun. It was a great learning experience, and actually probably one of the best failures of my life, which really taught me a lot about things. At the end of the season, the following year, I wasn't asked back, and it was crushing. And but I didn't understand. I turned them from